New Superman #1, Made in China Part 1. Introduced to Kong Kenan, who gains fame by standing up to the Blue Condor, one of Shanghai's and China's first American-style supervillains. The confrontation was captured on video and was viewed, among others, by two people from the Ministry of Self-Reliance. Dr. Ullman approaches Kong while he is visiting his mother's gravesite to offer him the opportunity to replicate Superman abilities in a person. Kenan accepts and is infused with Superman-like powers. Dr. Ullman summons the Batman and Wonder Woman of China to try and take control of the new Superman. Wow. This is a kind of an issue I think I would have enjoyed if it had a few more issues after it to read, because we're introduced to the Chinese kid Kong Kenan, who's kind of a bully.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the ones from the previews I saw in the other comics. This was one I was really excited to see, just as sort of the, really one of the first new characters of the DC Rebirth. Yes. But then going into it, he is picking on a fat kid that he goes to school with. He even calls him Fat Boy.
Yes.
And one of the things that flashed to mind was the old Spider-Man comics. Is one of the reasons why people love Spider-Man is because they identify with Spider-Man. And coming into this, here's the bully is the one who gets superpowers. And of course, when you read into it, there's much more going on in his life than just that. He lost his mom in a plane crash. His dad runs what looked like an auto body shop. There's much more complexities to him from that. And I think it's gonna make him a much different superhero than we're kind of used to.
But do you think people will be able to identify and sympathize and understand the character? Because one thing I want to point out is the kid that he was picking on is actually the son of, I think, the CEO or CFO of the airline. So there's a reason the airlines that his mother was flying on when there was an accident with the plane and it crashed and she was killed.
Yeah, and that gives insight into his motives. It doesn't really make up for the fact that he's bullying a kid who didn't have anything to do with his mom's plane crash. But it does give insight into his thinking too.
And also the way he got the superpowers is kind of unique. It's not he was born with them, he found a crystal or anything. It was a little bit different.
Yeah, to get those from the Ministry of Self-Reliance, which is a title I just absolutely love, which I'm assuming is a Chinese agency that wants to presumably create superheroes, I would assume. It also happens to be the agency Kenan's dad wants, who is Kenan describes him as sort of a conspiracy theorist.
Right.
And Kenan's dad wants to expose the Ministry of Self-Reliance for all the apparently nasty things they've done.
What do you think the Ministry's end goal will be in creating these new superheroes? For protection, for their own personal advancement?
I would assume probably for protection. This is a country that in the real world does value its own self-image quite a bit.
Right.
So to have foreign heroes constantly coming in and saving them, like we see in Justice League. We see the Green Lanterns saving Chinese people from a tidal wave. It sort of stands to reason the Chinese would want, self-reliance in a way. They would want their own heroes to police them and to save them.
Yes.
Too, at least as a start. Maybe, who knows, that at least for the Chinese government, who knows what the Ministry of Self-Reliance and Dr. Omen want in the end.
And if I'm kind of piecing, we've got a conspiracy theory here going on with this. And if Kenan finds that, yes, they're going in a bad direction and being loyal to his father, but getting powers from this ministry, where do you think he's going to side with his allegiance?
I don't know. It's interesting, too, because when they recruit him, they show him video of Superman. And it's just Superman with a plane. Kenan mentions, he watches Superman videos, but he confesses that he's never seen this particular clip. And if you look at the plane does look like the plane that appears in Kenan's dream, which is the China Airlines
yes
one. And so it shows him, and Kenan says something like, wait, what is he doing there? Is he, and kind of gets cut off at that point. So it's sort of like, is the Ministry trying to get him to take vengeance against maybe Superman, maybe against American superheroes? Is that just to spur him into action?
Right.
Maybe you can accomplish something that even Superman couldn't?
Well, if he does try to take vengeance upon this, we're speculating if he did try to one-up the New 52 Superman, he's not around anymore.
Yeah.
At least not now.
Or at least there is another one that he could possibly go after.
You go and say, hey, you didn't help my mother. I have no clue what you're talking about. So that might be an interesting dynamic because when he did get those powers, he kind of had an image or a vision of him saving that plane as Superman.
Yeah. It's also interesting too because one of my big loves in comic books is foreign superheroes and supervillains. I mean, I love seeing what they think other countries would be policed by, what their villains would look like. And I was a big fan of the Great 10 when they showed up just before the New 52. They were a team created by Grant Morrison. They were the first modern Chinese superheroes, but they called themselves super functionaries. They weren't superheroes, they were super functionaries because they didn't want anyone to view them as heroes because they would be idolized by the people. So super functionary was the term they referred to themselves by. And coming into this, I was gonna have a lot of comparisons to the Great 10. Because with the Ministry of Self-Reliance trying to make Chinese superheroes, kind of sounds like they're not around anymore, which is kind of odd because the August General in Iron, the leader of the Great 10, was on the New 52 Justice League International. I don't know how I can keep all this straight.
You have a flow chart on your wall. Back wall, he's got boom, 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 all this string connecting with little pin dots.
No, I think I have one in the back of my brain. That's what my eyes look at when I blink. I'm just looking at that.
What do they call it? Eidetic memory?
Oh, no, it's anything but that. But it's interesting that we're getting a very different character from anyone on the New 52. I mean, anyone on the Great 10. Because those were they're Grant Morrison characters.
Yes.
Anyone who's read Grant Morrison, he's not the easiest to get into. Let's say that. And to have a team of characters with guys like the August General in Iron, the accomplished perfect physician, the socialist Red Guardsman, the Seven Deadly Brothers, and then you have Superman, also flanked by Batman and Wonder Woman. It's much easier to get into.
What do you make of that we're going to kind of have the Chinese version of the Justice League and just those quick panels? They've already made a Batman, they've already made a Wonder Woman. Were they kind of responsible for Blue Condor in a way? And what do you think will happen? Is New Superman kind of a gateway for a whole new string of comic books with heroes from around the world? Yeah,
that would be interesting. It'll also be interesting to see if he does end up allying with the Batman of China and the Wonder Woman of China, because they get sicked on him as sort of the Ministry of Self-Reliance's attack dogs. And I really want to see more of Blue Condor, because we didn't see that much of him. We didn't.
No.
I mean, he holds a kid hostage. He gets a pop can thrown in his head.
He gets some soda thrown in his face.
Yeah, and then flies away. I want to know what what does he do? Is he is he a thief? Is he a master scientist? I mean, what does he do? I'm really dying to see that characterization.
I think this is one of the comics that give me 3 or 4 issues and let's see more of a complete story.
Yeah.
It was decent the first start off with, but I think there's a lot of potential there. I just want to see a few more issues go into it to see how this Ministry of Self-Reliance, this conspiracy theory, these 2 doctors, are they acting alone, and how will Keenan kind of react with, he wasn't the most noble of people, but his video that got captured that went viral made him appear to be this knight in shining armor.
Yeah.
Let's see how he handles Superman-like powers.
Yeah.
And get more established, I don't know if you want to call it backstory.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one.
Yeah. Get more of his own little universe established around him. That'll be nice to see.
Aquaman number 3, The Drowning Part 3, Capital Crimes. The State Department has revoked the Atlantean embassy status. Aquaman and Mera go to Washington, D.C. to discuss their embassy status. Black Manta is asked to join the group Nemo. The female who helped Manta escape is named Blackjack. In the South Atlantic, the USS Pontchartrain is attacked by Atlanteans called the Deluge. And at the White House, Aquaman is arrested for the attack.
Well, another time-honored tradition in comic books, a superhero ending up in trouble with the U.S. government.
Yeah. Poor Aquaman. He just wants to do the right thing. He wants to try to reopen the Spindrift embassy, but the U.S. has closed it. Mm-hmm. Who's right? Who's wrong? Were they right to close it? Were they wrong not to talk to Aquaman? Is Aquaman right to try to get it reopened? There's a lot of political intrigue there.
Yeah. I mean, I think we always kind of sympathize with the superheroes. I mean, they do have they do things that the government doesn't do. And yet here we have a guy who represents a culture that is superpowered and much more advanced than any other culture on the planet. And I think you can understand why the U.S. would want to close the station, especially after certain events had happened, and especially after a lot of those troopers are just straight up scared of Aquaman.
Right.
Just Aquaman, not even the big scary Commander Murk with his big one eye and hulking physique. I mean, they're scared of the guy with blue eyes and blonde hair.
Yeah.
Who talks to fish.
Doesn't
talk. He presses his thoughts into fish.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
But even though he's, even though he's kind of feared, I don't think he's quite got all the respect of his peers, not peers because it's not peers, but his followers, because especially Mera, when he tells her that they closed down the Spindrift station, she's kind of okay with it, but she's not okay with him wanting to go talk with them about opening it back up.
Yeah.
She's really, why are you still bothering?
Yeah, I mean, she hardly even does that. She just almost completely ignores him.
Right.
When he's, lamenting about how the diplomatic situation with the U.S. is declining, she's saying, isn't it so pretty out in the sea? Wouldn't it be nice to go out there? And that does sort of speak to Mera as being, she is from the sea. Yep. I mean, the Atlanteans aren't,
exactly.
they didn't live on land like Arthur did. I mean, they don't have this half and half that he has. I kind of compare it to like Thor from Marvel Comics. I mean, the other Asgardians kind of say, why do you keep going to Earth? That's stupid. I mean, but he has this, sort of 1 foot in each realm.
But do you think his kind of like having 1 foot in each realm, do you think that was going to cause a divide or some conflict later on between Aquaman and Mera, as he still wants to keep communications and keep relations with the surface dwellers open?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like something the two of them would want to discuss at some point if they're not on the same page, and if Aquaman can't get her to see the value of the surface world. So that'll be interesting to see where that goes.
It'd also be interesting to find out more about the group Nemo that actually broke Black Manta out. What do you think their end goal is? Do you think they're just terrorists for hire? Do you think they have a grudge against the Atlanteans? Are they just doing this because? It's
hard to tell. I mean, the gal Black Manta meets is Blackjack.
Right.
Blackjack kind of sounds like a pirate name.
Yes.
Maybe she has the eye patch. She has sort of the bandana going on. I mean, the guys who serve with her with the rifles and the golden masks, they don't really strike me as pirates. But, I mean, and they also say that Black Manta has something in common with them. Blackjack makes it kind of clear they don't really hate Aquaman. They say they don't have any love for Aquaman.
Yes.
But it'll be interesting to see what they want to do and who their leader is. Because they mentioned there's another leader.
Yeah, who
they haven't met yet. Yeah.
So I'm feeling like almost a organization that is pretty well funded. It looks like maybe is an offshoot of a government.
Yeah.
And is well funded.
Yeah, especially since they were at an abandoned airbase somewhere. What was that, in Maine?
Yes.
Wasn't it? Yeah. It seems like they'd have to have maybe some sort of clandestine government agency.
This attack that the Deluge had perpetrated, is it truly the Deluge?
I don't know, because that's the same group that Aquaman arrested back in #1. He took some of them down, and I saw when that attack happens, you see 3 of them in silhouette. You know, they're backlit by the flames.
Right.
And I know after reading comic books for this long that when someone is in silhouette, it means they're either going to show up in person later on, or it's someone you've already met, and they just don't want to show them. And if you look at, you know, the big hulking physique of the main guy from the Deluge, it looks like Commander Merc, who was by Aquaman's side when they were petitioning the U.S. troops to let him in. He had 2 other Atlantean guards with him. You know, the guys from the Deluge have that same kind of pointy helmet on the side. Maybe they stole those, but I mean, it spoke to me that guy looked a lot like Merc. And when they were talking to the troops, Merc was not very kind to surface dwellers. And he was fed up with that. He did not want any part of that until Aquaman came along.
So you think he's got some traitors in the mist?
I think he might. Yeah.
Well, where does this next few issues? Where does it go now that Aquaman's arrested?
That'll be interesting to see. I mean, it seems like right now his only real lifeline would be Mera to get him exonerated, and that's someone who really doesn't care about the surface world. I mean, she's already kind of made her point clear that she didn't care that much about the embassy being gone, and she was very prepared to just go back to the sea. She did a very nice job with the diplomacy between there, so maybe is it just going to be up to her? Is she going to reach out to maybe like Aqualad from the Titans? We also know, in what I noticed in DC Universe Rebirth #1, was we do see Jackson Hyde, the second Aqualad who made his debut in Brightest Day.
Right.
Very briefly. So maybe she'll reach out to some of Aquaman's other friends.
So it's either going to be diplomacy or action.
Yeah. And at the rate this title is going, I'm tempted to say action.
Yep. Very fragile.
Yeah.
But honestly, I like this Aquaman series. It's one of the titles that I think started off hot. It's going to cool down to reestablish the playing field and then pick back up. Not the lull in the action is on purpose to really kind of get you ready for the next phase of Aquaman.
Yep.
Like I said, is you playing a video game and you defeat the end boss from the last game first, and then you find out this is the true adventure.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Justice League, Titans, get a little bit farther down, Teen Titans. We haven't seen Teen Titans yet, but coming at the end of September, Teen Titans Rebirth #1. And from what we were reading on the preview of it, Damian Wayne is going to try to reunite the Teen Titans who are farther scattered apart than farther before. But is Damian Wayne going to be, at his age, his little diminutive dictatorship attitude, is he able to bring in, Kid Flash? You're going to have Starfire. You're going to have Raven, and you're going to have Beast Boy, it's kind of the classic Teen Titans lineup. And you're going to have a Robin, but it's not Tim Drake, it's not Dick Grayson, Damian Wayne. What do you think? What are you going to look forward to in this Teen Titans Rebirth?
It'll be interesting to see how he meshes with a guy like Beast Boy, who is classically just out to have fun, more to have a good time, not as you termed it, dictatorship of Damian, who is not necessarily a team player or a team leader or anything, but it'll be a different style of leadership than we've seen on a lot of those. But of course, at the same time, he does like to play Cheese Viking, so who knows? He may have more commonalities with Beast Boy than he realizes.
I just don't see Damian fitting into a team, but I think he feels, as a Robin, it's his right to lead a Teen Titans. It's almost list of things to do as Robin. da-da-da, lead Teen Titans.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think he's almost feels like he's entitled to be able to lead these
not as a
group.
right, like a privilege.
Yeah, privilege.
Almost. I mean, he's entitled. He feels he's entitled to that leadership.
Classic character lineup. The Kid Flash is someone new in terms of being, this isn't Earth Prime Wally West. This is the new 52 Wally West.
Yep. It's still a throwback to the old 80s Teen Titans to have a Kid Flash on the team, and the Kid Flash wearing the same basic outfit. In fact, really the only major one we're missing from that lineup is Cyborg, who's moved up to the Justice League with the major leagues,
well,
so to speak.
And also moving up is, of course, Wally West, who now has become Wallace Prime after Barrymus Prime had bestowed upon him the matrix of the Speed Force. But I just had to throw a Transformer reference in there, forgive me. But actually, Wally West kind of manipulated the matrix because he already knew how to change form.
Yeah, yeah.
But this Wally West, I think, this new 52 Wally West doesn't really quite have his speed powers under control as we saw with the previews. He's really training and concentrating, but he quite hasn't gotten a hold of them. He can feel them, but he hasn't got a control of them.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of the speedster we would expect on the Teen Titans as not the little kid league, but as the ones who are still trying to fully grasp their powers and fully trying to understand where they can fit in and what they can do. And I think that's where Damian does fall in there. I mean, he has a lot of potential among the Bat family, but he is still just Robin at this point.
Yep.
I mean, he sort of feels entitled. In the past, he's felt entitled to the Batman.
Yes.
That he's next in line. And he's, this will be on his way to earning that. That if he can guide the Teen Titans successfully, he'll be able to guide the Batman family.
Well, kid,
Maybe.
You're only 13. Stick to your action figures and cheese Viking for now. But Teen Titans does look like it's going to be a little fun ride. Look forward to that in the next month or so. And that wraps up this episode of Comic Book Cove. But be sure to go to our Facebook and our YouTube sites, Delve Into the Void, for our exclusive review, overview, and discussion of Justice League number 1 and Justice League number 2. So for Tom Morris and Josh Holderbaum, this has been another episode of Comic Book Cove. We'll see you next time.